Record to Okay, welcome to Faith and Calm. This is class number 295. Welcome back after Pesach. So we are in the period of time called Sfiras Omer, where we are counting towards towards Shavuos. Actually, my wife had this question. I've always had this question, but I never actually looked it up and found out. So I asked Claude, the custom is the story is that in the time of the temple they used to bring a special offering on the second night of Passover, the day after the Yontif, and they would go out and harvest an omer worth of barley, and that was called harvest the omer offering. And so I've always wondered, well, if it's done once, why do we have 49 days of counting the omer? Um, and what does it have to do with Shavuos? It's all connected with Passover. So it told me that it was actually these are two separate mitzvahs. Of course, it always compliments you and says that's a great question. It makes you feel good. This is what AI does for you. It makes you feel really good. So it says, no, yeah, here's you have a good question. So my good question was, yeah, they're two separate things. There are one is we are in a countdown period for Shavuos, and the other one is that we there was at the time of the temple there was this offering, the Omer offering. Okay, question. That's good. We'll ask that follow-up question. If there are two separate things, why do they have the same name associated with it? But let's concentrate on the second one. According to Chabad, especially, I mean, there are different ideas associated with it. Yes, there's a countdown for Shavuos. That's one thing. There is also the historical fact that 24,000 zugos, pairs of Rabbi Akiva students passed away, and that it's a time of sadness among the Jewish people. Many terrible things happened during this period of time. Um, but they're all leading up to Lag BaOmer. And then there's also the idea that it connects Pesach to Shavuos because historically the Jews were 49 days. They were traveling and all preparing themselves for the receiving of the Torah. And according to Chassidus, one of the things that we say when we count the Omer, which will happen tonight again, last night was 11. Very good. We don't want to say what it is because it's sort of like twilight now. We could accidentally count it. So Jews have a funny way of asking what day it is. They ask what was yesterday, and you're going, what's this going? What's this going on here? Yesterday was 11. Today was 11, and because we're also refining our mitos, our emotional traits, and that's what I want to talk about today, and give you some tools because I'm going to connect Pesach with this idea of refining one's emotions and traits. Because we read on the seventh day of Passover, as I mentioned a number of times in this class, is that there was this splitting of the Yam Suf. And you wonder, why is that such an important event that had to happen before the Jews could receive the Torah and receive their mission and find out who they are as a nation and what we're supposed to be doing? It's important stuff. So all of that, we had to go through a splitting of the sea. What does splitting of the sea refer to? It means that this idea of a sea is concealment, hiddenness. We don't see what's going on in the under reality. We always see the surface, and our most of our intellect and our animal soul and our consciousness is related to what we can see, touch, eat, feel, taste, run, experience, and so forth, material things. Sometimes I'm often looking for something to fill myself up, and I don't realize that I'm just distracted and looking for food. I'm looking for sleep. I'm looking for, and all these are nice distractions and they're quick things to get to physically, but it may not be exactly what my deepest part of my soul is looking for. So things are concealed. The world for the world is olam, concealness, and the world conceals the underlying reality, which is the godliness, which is the dry land that we go through. In order to be able to do this, we have to be able to connect those two things together. Or another way to say it is, we have to. We normally we react to things emotionally. People say things, they trigger us. We get scared, we get afraid, we get angry, we get anxious, and so forth. Things happen in the physical world, and it sets us off, and we're distracted for the rest of the day, and we can't sit down, and we go no, and we do something else in order to try and get rid of that distracting factor. And those are the emotions, and they're very powerful because and so a lot of religious thinking seems to be, one of two schools. One school of traditional Jewish thought was just suppress, the mind is everything, and the other one was just admit that you're a dish rag, and you're going to go into these emotional things, and just and that's and appeal to Hashem to save me, save me, save me. And what Chassidus says is, you know, this idea of the moach shlit al halev, the brain runs the heart, is actually giving you guidance. It's saying, no, 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 emotions are fine. You're not living if you don't have emotions. You're dead. You're an automaton. You're stuck. You're not you're an AI. You don't have, life is on the emotional level, feeling, experiencing, excitement, happiness, all that stuff. That's all emotional stuff. And that's the fabric of life, living life. So we want to take that emotional experience, but we want to be able to not be taken away with it, but being able to actually confuse it with the mind. And that is the idea of walking in through the ocean on dry land. Dry land, you're on firm footing, you're clear, you know what you're doing. The mind is directing things, but you're actually in the midst of the ocean, and you can actually survive at the same time. And so this is the task and the avoda of Sfiras Omer. So I was listening to a 3 hour class, a 3 hour podcast with Rabbi YY. And so he was hammering home a couple of his, I'll give you four of his favorite tricks, techniques for dealing with emotions and feelings. And that's not by getting rid of them. It's about recognizing them. So the first one he says is whenever you are triggered by something, of course, taking a pause in a breath rather than just responding. Your wife says something, your husband says something, and some kid in school says something, and it just drives you. The first reaction is, what and how can you do this? And you're threatening me and whatever. Before you let the emotions run you past, it's to take a pause and take a breath and to do the following. It says, first off, cultivate a curiosity of why am I responding this way? Before you respond, that's very interesting. That really got my blood going and so forth. Be curious and self-aware of what is happening to you at that point in time. And this will help you. The more you do this, the more you take that pause and do and say, I'm what is going on? This is very interesting. Um, I'm human. I'm not going to deny it. Maybe that's just one of the things about me that I have to learn about me, that I am more sensitive to these particular kind of events than other people. And he followed that up with a very interesting idea. And this is, as you know, all of this is also it's about controlling these things is then learning that when you're praying to actually fuse these things together, to experience the words, and then also to take Torah classes, and he suggested taking his because it gives you a sense of the answers are inside you already. Nobody can really give you the answers. It won't be powerful enough. You have to experience yourself and know you've got the answers. But you do have the answers because you have a godly soul. So you already have the answers. A teacher, Torah classes can help you learn how to recognize those forces inside of you, the animal soul and the godly soul, and be able to recognize why this is happening to you and what is the dynamic that's going on. But then the actual solution comes from inside yourself. So you have a tremendous power inside yourself to solve the problem. And that was his first set of tips was, realize, the solution is there already. It's inside of you, and it's going to be custom made for you, and only you can actually figure it out. But external knowledge And learning can help you recognize and help you discover, and especially if you have this bit of awareness, you'll realize, I am easily distracted by this or by that, and I have to watch myself because it just sets me off, and the emotions take over. And then what happens is that they're like, he says there's another one, he calls it softening the heart, which means that you should, or observing without identification. So he calls it the following. He says, listen, the emotions can be thought of as a flame of a stormy river, a turbulent river full of, crashing through the rocks and going torrents of stuff. And you imagine yourself like standing right next to that. And this river is calling you to just fall in and drown yourself inside of it. I don't know. It has that power, because it wants you to be taken away and so forth. And what you have to be able to do is to say, I see that. But you know what? I am not the river. I don't have to let my emotions run my whole life. I'm standing outside of there. And, there's a separate person called me, and me is observing the emotions and what they're doing to me. But I'm not necessarily the emotion itself. I am not the anger. I am not the anxiety. I'm not the fear. I am not the insecurity. I am not those things. I am not. I am somebody who observes that and seeing that happen inside of me. So that's the second set of tricks. And then, yes, as I talked before, this idea of of pausing and waiting and saying, you know, just developing and saying, whenever something very strong comes over you, noticing that. And with these couple tricks, you can use these techniques and so forth. You practice them, they'll help you develop a sense of of less reactionary mode to what's going on in the emotions. Because here we see how Acidus actually teaches you the mind doesn't rule the heart by just turning off the emotions. That's a terrible thing. And you don't just ignore them either and just try and pretend that that I'm Miss Perfect or Mr. Perfect or something like that. That's okay. I know who I am. I have strong feelings. That's a good thing. That it's part of being alive. And but nevertheless, I'm using my mind to say, is this emotion what I want to actually allow me to just carry me downstream and let me just go crazy with it and so forth? Or is it something that I can actually say, there's something there, and I need to figure out what I need to be honest about myself and vulnerable about myself. So to conclude, Rabbi Wai told he said that he got a criticism from one of his listeners. He says, in the early days you were very intellectual and you had to give a lot of good information, and now you're all talking about emotions and feelings and stuff like that, and your own personal vulnerabilities and so forth. You're not as interesting anymore, because you're not giving that much intellect that stuff anymore that you used to do and so forth. And this is, and he says he thought it was an interesting complaint. He says, actually, I have found that people listen most when you're actually very open about yourself and and describe some of the problems and things that you're going. Nothing gets people more interested in the class than when you're or any other thing when you're doing, when you actually can talk from personal experience. People actually listen to that. And everybody has these issues. And when they hear that somebody else has these issues, it really helps them too very much, because real teaching is about exemplifying things. It's not necessarily giving over information to other people. And when you exemplify it, it has a stronger effect on people. So he said the following. He says, it used to be that whenever his wife or somebody would be misbehave or kids would misbehave, he would take it very personally, and he would think, I'm a failure. I'm not teaching my kids properly. I'm not being a proper husband because my wife is all upset and she's disturbed and she's in turmoil and so forth. And somehow this is reflecting on me and my ability to be a proper husband. And that's that was his go-to place. That was what he was doing. And then he realized that maybe she's just having a hard day and maybe it has nothing to do with me and so forth. I don't have to take everything personally, and it's a reflection of me and I'm doing something wrong. And that helped him grow an awful lot. And so that was his way of personally sharing, some of his own vulnerability. And he's saying being open and honest and having somebody who actually listen to that, that's actually very empowering. You need to have somebody who actually sees you, cares about you, listens to your problems and so forth, and will see the inner core of the goodness inside of you and saying, you know what, you have this ability because you're a piece of, hey, look, you're a piece of godliness, and that piece of godliness trumps everything else. And that's why, interesting enough, one of the main things we say 3 times a day is Shema. And when we say Shema, what you're basically saying is there is only one God. All this other reality and all this other stuff that's happening to me isn't the real true reality. The real true reality is that there's God is one, and He wants goodness from me, and only wants good for it to happen from me, and that is also why we connect Shema with the idea of leaving Egypt, because you leave your exile, you leave your confines, you leave your constraints, when you actually also help to realize, but you know what? There really nothing else is in control of this world. It's not Iran, it's not Spain, it's not the Eurovision country. Nothing is running this world, not Trump, not anything else. It's all God operating this behind the scenes. We may not see that, our mind may be able to grasp it, but there's really only one reality. And as I said, I think this is going to be a short class, and I think that that covers all my different points. My wife is going to say a few points. Do we have any follow-up questions? Did you want to pause here? Go ahead.
I think it's a real psychology lesson. I don't know if Sigmund Freud even, you know, was taught that, but basically it teaches everybody to start talking to yourself, especially at the moment when you are triggered. That's what how I see it. It basically tells me, aha, at very second when you feel triggered by whatever it is, in that second you tell yourself, why do I want to overreact? And just asking this question may stop you to overreact. You got it.
You got it. And you still may have to react, because you know what? The reaction, you're not going to say, I'm going to have no reaction here. That's not
No,
the
I
good
mean
idea either.
overreact.
It's
I
it's
mean
it, it's
overreact.
it's letting you that river just carry you away, and just let it take care of the rest, go on for hours and hours that way. And that's not accomplishing anything. It's just so yeah, it's very good to be able to say, this is way over the top for me. And I don't know, it was parents or somebody said something made me vulnerable. But there's a lot of incidents that happen when you're younger or something like that, and all of a sudden you got hurt, and you got hurt very badly. So the
Yes.
emotions are saying, either one or two things: either turn them off and just pretend to be, go off and or binge on something else, or eat something, or shop, or do something else, or something like that,
Yeah.
and you're trying to use some other distraction to do it, or it's yeah, people also just let the emotion take them away and so forth. So all of this is like, learning to yeah, observe, cultivate curiosity, pause. I like all these terms here, to be able to and now my job for the rest of the 6 or so weeks of the Aspira is now to try and learn to do that. And each day it's another step in getting closer to Har Sinai. And with that,
Yeah.
I
Can
will
I ask
turn
you a
it.
question?
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you.
Can I ask you a question? I always forget, or I always feel like, what is our morning now happen to coincide with Rabbi Akiva's students? Forget about the fact that they weren't respectful. I mean, the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, the second Beis Hamikdash, because people had sinas chinam. That's one thing. But for 20,000 people to be killed out of respect, of not respecting, I'm not even going to ask you the question. What I'm
Okay.
asking
That's a good
is,
question though, too.
of course it is. That's why I'm not going to ask, because it's not fair.
Uh,
What I am going to ask is, I always don't understand what's the correlation between it's from Pesach to Shavuos, and we're counting up these days and working on these character traits and the the things that we're mourning that because they were killed, they died, and they killed, and that you can't do certain things. You can't get a haircut, and you can't listen to music. So is the not listening to music and Sphera, I mean, not listening to music and not getting haircuts, the that's part of the mourning, right? So that I understand. So is the mourning have anything to do with counting up the days towards Shavuos or counting down the days towards Shavuos, whatever? Or is it just happen to be coincidental that they come out on top of each other like this by accident?
Yeah, we don't believe everything is coincidental. So everything
Well, that
has
right.
a certain connection to it, and so forth. So yes, there are separate ideas, but they do, I think, intertwine. So um, it says that, that what we're doing here is we're working on ourselves and our emotional traits. We actually, it's for a custom in Chabad is, and I think maybe some others too, is to actually learn the tractate Sota during this time. When it's 49 pages and there's one page per day, and most of it deals with all sorts of emotional foibles that people have, especially in human relations between men and women and so forth. So you learn about the story of Shimson and Delilah and all the other issues and so forth like that. And all of this is helping you help develop an understanding of, the human condition and its frailty. So I think that's also part of the theme of Rabbi Akiva. So they says that the reason that they died was they were very great students, and their teacher taught the famous principle, V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, that you should love your fellow as yourself. And here you have the people who should be embodying it the most, and somehow they're actually failing in this very point, and so forth. They're not really showing the level of love for each other that they're supposed to do, and therefore it's also an emotional thing. Why aren't you showing that level of respect? The Rebbe explains, and he says, it's even more complicated than that, or twisted than that. It says they knew what their teacher taught, and they did love their fellow Jew, and they were all each one was trying to show their own individual, unique way of how to do it, and they said, "I have the secret to this, and it's better than your solution." And the other one was saying, "I have the way, and it's better than your solution." And so they were actually arguing about this principle of how to show respect and love for your fellow Jew. The very issue was causing the machlokas, and since they didn't actually give space for each other, that's what you need to have, and that's the most thing in any relationship is you have to say, I respect the way, I have my way of looking at it, you have your way of looking at it, and they're both kosher, and therefore we augment each other. We don't have to necessarily override another person. And that's a lot about human relationships. And that was what has to be fixed in order to receive the Torah, where all the Jews stood as one, all united as one, and all received the Torah as one, and we're all healed in every single way at Har Sinai. So this part of getting to the process of unity means unity with diversity of opinion, and you only have true unity if there was a possibility of division, and that's also one of the Rebbe's big themes about Shavuos and why it's in the third month is that when you have just one solution, that's one, then there's no opportunity for unity. It's only when you have two, and then you have an argument, and then you finally have a three, which it comes to reconcile it, like a man and a woman. You put them two together, and then you get real unity together. But you don't have unity when you're all only as a single. You have unity when you put two different people together.
But I mean, in theory, it could just be that Pesach came, and then you have counting Sfiras HaOmer till till Shavuos comes, and having this Rabbi Akiva with the students and the not getting haircuts and things being totally out of the picture and not even relevant really, because it's I mean, we're working on Midos and things like that. That's part of the counting up the days till Shavuos. But it seems to me that it really doesn't have like a such a connection that it could be just it happens to be. I know this is not random, but that
Okay,
it's
as I
not
said, yeah, I
what.
think it has the non-random part
So
is we're
maybe
working on our
I don't
Mitos, and they
I don't
have
get
to
it.
they also should have been working on their Mitos. But I'm going to let Shalom and Shehudis
Okay, I'm sorry.
maybe she'll
My
say it
stomach
differently.
hurts. Maybe I missed it.
Yeah, so maybe Shalom and Shehudis, she'll
No, it's
explain.
okay. So they should have been working on themselves. I just not my back really hurts, not my stomach. My back.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in a lot of pain, and I'm not going to be able to sit anymore. I'm
Okay.
very upset about it.
Um, yeah. So basically, like it's the same thing with, the Jews didn't get the Torah until they got to Sinai, right? Until they got to Har Sinai. And at the place before Rephidim or wherever it was, every single stop that they had, there was arguments. And it's very similar to the Rabbi Akiva thing. It's the same thing. What is the pinnacle of Jewish achievement? The pinnacle of Jewish achievement is unity with each other. And so it was the problem. It was a problem with Rabbi Akiva students, and it was a problem throughout the desert until we got to Har Sinai. When we got to Har Sinai, it finally clicked. Ah, this is what we have to do. And when we were one, like one person with one heart, that's when Hashem gave us the Torah. And perhaps, that's what we need to do now, because we are so beyond being ready for the redemption. So maybe that's the one thing that we still have to work on. We have to be, because that's what did it last time. So Emir Hashem, maybe that'll be what we'll do it this time. So
This time, what you mean, building the base of Mikdash?
yes, yeah. Haskell just looked up the order. First Mashiach comes. It's supposed to be like this. The first Mashiach comes, then we have the base of Mikdash, then we have the ingathering of the exiles, and I forgot what comes after
Wait,
that.
the
But
first Mashiach comes. So he comes, he just like is the solitary person and he comes, but nobody's ingathered yet. And then there's
Yeah,
stuff to build a base of
but
Mikdash.
actually,
And
the
then
Rebbe told us. Actually, the Rebbe told us that the
I'm just
ingathering.
clarifying.
Yes. That's the general order, but it doesn't mean they're mutually exclusive, because we know that the ingathering of the exiles has already begun. So
Because
the
when
Rebbe
Mashiach
told
coming,
us.
that sort of just means one person comes and then life is the same. So it can't just be that, oh yeah, Mashiach's here, but we have to wait until
Right?
the
No,
base
no.
of Mikdash is built
Yeah.
before we could get ingathered.
So
If I
there's a
may
guy.
add,
Okay, there's a guy that's after Meinrich Haskell Shimon about it. There's a guy who made half shekels. He figured out what the weight of the shekel was, what the opinion is of the weight of the shekel, and he minted silver half shekel coins in the weight that was the original weight, because when the
They
Beis
used to
Hamikdash.
have them a long time ago. I remember being in Israel in the 80s and they had half shekel coins.
No. They called their currency shekels, but we're talking the holy shekel. We're talking the holy shekel. And
Okay,
so
I'm
this guy
sorry.
did a lot of research, and he now is minting half shekel coins, so that, when the base of Mikdash is built, we need to bring korbanos. Who's going to be able to bring korbanos? You have to
Come
bring a
on,
half shekel.
he made a whole factory just to do this.
I don't know a whole factory, but he's minting them.
How do you mint them without a factory? You need
may
machines to
He
mint
obviously,
them.
maybe he rented out a factory for a couple of months. I don't know how he did it, but I can show you next time if I bring it. I can show you the
So I
picture
feel
of the
Goldie's
coin.
like raising her so patiently.
Please go ahead, Golda.
okay, good evening.
Good
So
evening.
if I want to clarify, well, it's understandable that before receiving Torah, Jews needed this cleansing. And of course, unity is like a main condition. And all these attributes, which we read in Omer, we have a wonderful book by Simon Jacobson about Omer. So I understand that all these attributes are needed. But is that so that before Mashiach, Jews need to do this process of cleansing? in order for Mashiach to come, or the opposite way, after Mashiach comes, then all of us will be able to do the cleansing, or we should do this not easy work before his coming.
I think both things are true. I think that I think that I think because of the stuff we did throughout this long time of exile, that's why Mashiach is coming. And I
Right.
think there'll be more, and I think that obviously we will be more and more and more refined as we live in the, even in the clarifying air of Israel. The air, Avir shall Israel, the Avir, the air of Israel is a different kind of thing. And that
It's
itself
not
is
just
going to
cleansing, it's building. It's building yourself into a different type of person.
yes,
And
yes,
that's
yes,
like in a positive way, like with
yes,
better midos and better this.
yes, 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 yes.
And
Yeah.
thank you for bringing up Rabbi Goldie. It just says Golda on her thing for bringing up Rabbi Jacobson's thing on. I ordered that with it. It has each day. It has all the different things to
Yeah,
work
yeah,
on.
yeah,
I have
yeah,
to get it.
yeah.
Thank you for reminding me
I
about
think
that.
it's called, isn't it called 60 Days? I think it's called 60 Days.
I can show it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a little notebook. Yeah. I think it's called 60 Days, but I'm not sure. And maybe not. Maybe 60 Days is
This is it.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, good. You want to
It,
say what
it,
it's called?
it
Yeah,
was on Amazon, so it's easy to order.
yeah. What is the title? Why don't you read the title?
The title is the Counting of the Omer for 49 Days of the
49, so
Spirit.
that's right. Yeah, the 60 days, excuse me, I was thinking 49 days, of course, and the book he does about 60 days is probably Elul and Tishrei. Okay, so I wanted, first I'm going to start with the four things that I always say. Number one, we're in an extraordinary time. We are in the unfolding of the redemption. And why do I know that? Why do I say that? Because the Lubavitcher Rebbe said it, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe was never wrong, has never been wrong about anything he said in public. I don't know about what he said in private. He probably had a perfect track record there too. But in every public, of the thousands of public statements he made, the scores of prophecies, they have all come true, and this is also coming true. And it's coming true according to the way the Rebbe described it as well. So, secondly, you and I have an incredibly important role to play in this time. We're alive specifically because we each have a critically important role to play. Number three, we have all the tools we need to accomplish our mission. We have the Torah, which is our guidebook, and we have the mitzvahs, which are our power tools. And finally, by learning about the redemption, which is what we're doing tonight, we actively advance it. The Rebbe told us there's nothing that actively advances the redemption more powerfully, with more speed than learning about it. So I just want to first I want to first I want to tell you this in case anybody goes off. Do not miss next week's session. I'm going to tell one of the most amazing stories I have ever been privileged to come across. And I didn't tell it, and I didn't tell it, and I'm going to tell it next week because it'll be my mother's yard site, but also because I wanted it's such an astounding story that I wanted to confirm it with people who were on the scene. I didn't want to just read it somewhere. I wanted to confirm it with people who are actively there, which I did. So fasten your seatbelts. It is a story you will remember. So and that's next week. But anyway, to go on to what Yaskell Shimon was saying, it's so interesting. That was exactly my experience of Pesach. In Pesach, my emotions were rattled like crazy. I I was so triggered amazingly. The first half, whatever. I was so amazingly triggered, and and to the extent that by the end of the first days of Pesach, I couldn't turn my head to the right. I had such a stiff neck that I never had anything like it. It lasted for days and it got worse and worse. And then I realized, Lamasiris, I think it's possible that this is emotional. And then I addressed the emotions underneath. And when I addressed the emotions underneath, I not only found solutions to my problems, but I uncovered a deeper, like the things that were bothering me that people did to me. Okay, they were bothering me because people did them to me. But what was truly bothering me underneath it was that I do these same things in my relationship with Hashem. I do these same things. And I realized that my soul is experiencing great pain because of what I do. I'm mad at, there's an expression by the Baal Shem Tov, and it says, the Baal Shem Tov taught us what gets you very, very, very upset in another person is something it's in you. You
The
have
modern
this,
psychology, right,
you have the
right. It's
same, yes,
projecting, right.
yeah,
It's called
you have the
projecting.
same thing in you, and that's what's infuriating. So what was infuriating is that I'm deeply pained in, things that ways I neglect Hashem, or ways I don't take my davening seriously enough, and things like that. So the exact same parallel, the things that I was so upset about are okay. I'm glad I identified them. Then I identified a source, and it was so powerful. My neck got better right away. And it's an amazing, amazing thing. Look at this. This is what I wrote these. I'm only going to flash them across so nobody can read them. I wrote them crookedly, right? Because on Yantif, you can't write straightforward on Cholamoid, but it was a wonderful yontif. I grew from it. I was so happy about it. So I'm not going to tell a story tonight. As I said, I'm going to save this blockbuster story for next week. But I want to say a little bit about tomorrow night. Tonight is the 27th of Nisan, and tomorrow night is the 28th of Nisan. And 35 years ago, the Rebbe said one of the most astounding things he ever said on the night of the 28th of Nisan. And he told us that he has done everything he can to bring the redemption, and now it's up to us. And people went crazy. They said, "What do you mean it's up to us? We don't know. If you can't do it, we can't do it." And they pleaded with him, "You've got to do it, Rebbe. You have to bring Mashiach." And the Rebbe said, after the talk, they bothered him. They went to him in dollars. That one woman was like almost yelling at him, "What do you mean? You have to bring Mashiach." And the Rebbe said, "I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. If I say it's up to you, I mean it's up to you, and you, and you, and you, and you, and you. I have done everything I can. I will help you, but I have done my part." And so people were like, the predominant reaction was horror, and bewilderment, absolutely bewilderment. I was not there. I was already at that point. Was I becoming Chabadnik already? I certainly, it was, let's see, it was summertime 1991. Summertime 1991. I was not a Chabadnik yet. I was in Monsey, New York, and I was not yet a Chabadnik. But anyway, afterwards, as I became a Chabadnik and I learned the Sichas, I learned the talks of the Rebbe, I learned that talk. And if you just read it and you don't bring any personal emotions, you don't have a guilt reaction, you just read the words, it is an amazing statement of the Rebbe's trust in us. It is not what do you mean? Why are you doing this to me? I can't do this. It has nothing to do with that. If you read the words themselves, the Rebbe is telling us who we are. He's telling us that we are the people that can bring this world to its completion. We, you, and I. And it wasn't like some people say it was they thought, oh, maybe the Rebbe's just like disgusted and fed up with everything. No, if let's say you're a mother and you tell somebody, and you tell somebody from now on, the raising of this baby is yours. You would never do that because you're disgusted. You would never do that because you would only do it if you had a profound trust in the person that you were turning over this baby's care to. Also a pilot. Let's say a pilot was all of a sudden couldn't be a pilot anymore. He's not going to turn it over. He's not going to turn the job over to somebody who can't bring his 600 passengers safely to the ground. So when the Rebbe turned the job over to us, the Rebbe was giving us an incredible statement of trust in who we are. And he was telling us, who are you? You are not only capable of bringing this world to its conclusion, not its inclusion, to its whole purpose, to the whole purpose that it was created for. You're gonna complete the most vital mission in any history, in plain old history. You're gonna finish the Geula, and you can do it. And it's a truth that most of us still can't relate to. But the Rebbe, who sees inside us and knows us, he knows that we can do this with the right encouragement. He knows that we can do this. So anyway, I'm not going to talk a lot tonight. I'm going to save it for next week, and I'm going to wish everybody a very, very, very good week. You should do something on Tuesday night, Wednesday, to help further the cause of the redemption, because the Rebbe put his money behind us. He put his trust and his money in us, and meaning his spiritual money, and we can do this. Okay, be well, everybody. Have a very, very, very wonderful night. And
Thank you.
how do I turn this?
It's my fault. I know I was running away, but can you remind me what it is that I had to get a pill for my
No problem. What remind you of what?
the anniversary is of that
So
Tuesday
on
night.
the 20th of Nisan in 1991, the Rebbe told us that he has done everything that he is supposed to do to bring the redemption, and now it's up to us, you and you and you and you. And
No, it's been up to us the whole time.
okay, Rebbe.
Of
okay.
course, it's been up to us the whole time. Back in Mitzrayim.
Y-
I mean, what's it called? I mean, whatever. Even before, it's always been up to us. I don't mean to be contradicting.
Yeah.
It's always been up to us.
Yes. It's always been up to us.
Since
But we are inseparable from our sages, right? And they did a whole lot. It's not like it's just they did a whole lot. So I mean,
they
it's
did
not
a
up to,
whole lot, you said?
yeah, the sages, right? Not just he's not saying it's up to you as opposed to Hashem. Of course, it's up to us as opposed to Hashem.
No, Klal Yisrael. It's our
Yes.
job to do
Yes.
this.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, I don't even know how to turn
He said
this
he
thing
did everything.
on.
Now it's up to us. Maybe he just meant I'm not doing anymore. I don't know.
That's what he said. You missed it. He said, I have done what I can, and now it's up to you to complete the job. So let's see. I have no idea how to turn off this recording. It's a different kind of system.
Why? It's a change in the
Stop. Okay.